yeah,
truly.
I mean, it's two sides of the same coin here, though, because Fox News is notoriously like, well, we love people who just say what they're thinking.
Right.
And then at the same time, when people say what they're thinking, they're like, I cannot believe that they said what they thought.
Yes.
And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have the liberals who are like, no, don't ever say what you're thinking.
Oh, yeah. If this situation were completely politically flipped and it was a right-wing president and a right-wing press secretary, they would be making endless excuses.
Of course.
For it, about like how like, well, you got to admit, Steve Ducey is kind of stupid. Yeah. That's what they'd be saying right now.
It's the Casey and Zoe thing.
Media
Psaki's
ignores
on Fox News.
Psaki
Peter
is the
Ducey.
media, but okay.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the thing. They've got her back, Zoe.
Right. The media. It's this like nameless, faceless thing that they love talking about.
Oh yes. Or are they sticking up for Johnny Depp? Is that part of their routine now too?
I mean, cool. You should.
Okay, yeah. Let's see this. This is what, one day ago. So this is current. Outnumbered. Oh, this is the same thing. Outnumbered was the other thing.
It's the same.
Yeah. So we're having a little outnumbered day. I'm not really familiar with Outnumbered, so this is good for me.
Oh yeah, I know these guys. They
to get
suck.
to know this set of propagandists. No, sorry.
The media's silence on White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki's attack on Fox News' Peter Ducey.
Not on Peter Ducey.
Peter Ducey, my one true hero?
The wonderful and unassailable Peter Ducey. How could she?
No.
There's nothing negative you can say about Peter Ducey.
How could they Peter Ducey?
He's a perfect man.
Whoa. Ducey is the perfect example of the left's double standard. This is what she said last week.
So we have to talk about Peter Ducey for 1 second.
Sure.
Is he a stupid son of a or does he play a stupid son of a on TV?
He works for a network.
Yes.
Okay.
That provides people with questions that nothing personal to any individual, including Peter Ducey, but might make anyone sound like a stupid son of a
So
that's
where's
hilarious.
The backlash?
Yeah.
There's been no condemnation from the White House Correspondents Association.
And this is interesting because I think this is pointing to what I think is a weakness in a lot of liberal politics. Is that when you try to always like adopt this sort of like I am the ultimate diplomat and I have the most decorum of anyone.
Yeah.
You paint yourself into a corner where then you can't call a stupid piece of shit a stupid piece of shit. Because then everyone's like, oh, what happened to all the cordiality and all the things you've been fighting? Because liberals do politically speak up for that a lot. You know, they're very like, use nice language and don't be mean, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas like we're very much not like that at all. I'll call every piece of shit a piece of shit. And I think the world is better when people call piece of shit motherfuckers, like everyone at Fox News. But yeah, so because that's a total, I mean, first of all, funny joke. True. Good work, Jen Psaki, on that one. But they do kind of paint themselves in this corner where they can't then really do stuff like that without these criticisms coming up. So while this is stupid propaganda, and obviously they're cherry picking, and the fact for a right winger to criticize anyone about double standards is laughable.
Yes.
And though I think like there's like a little bit of a point there of like liberals do preach that, and then they're dealing with a stupid piece of shit, and they want to call them a stupid piece of shit, and then they get in trouble because they've been saying you can't say that.
Well,
what's cool about us, we say, yeah, say that all the time.
Well, also, yeah, I mean, when you do that whole cop-out thing of like, I'm not calling anyone a stupid piece of shit, but maybe he said something one day that might have been a little stupid piece of shitty. That is also much easier to jab at.
Yes.
Than her being like, yes, he's a piece of shit.
Yes, I think he's a stupid piece of shit. Because, like, yeah, sure, outside of human interpretation, no one, like, you know, obviously piece of shit is a value judgment.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, like Peter Ducey I don't know. Yeah, with Peter Ducey, it is a question of like, yeah, is he just a complete fucking moron,
or is he pretending like Tucker Carlson?
Yeah, or is he just a very committed grifter? The sense I get from Peter Ducey is that he's kind of fucking stupid, more than from Tucker. Peter Ducey has always struck me as a bit of a fucking doofus to the bone. But who knows? You know, I've never spoken to him in person. It might turn out he's like a totally smart guy and just a fucking bastard.
And crickets from the liberal media, well, except for CNN's Brian Stelter, who, of course, weighed in and defended Psaki.
I think Jen Psaki is kind of like, remember in senior year, spring of your senior year, you're about to graduate and you're just tired of all this. I think we're seeing that from Jen Psaki. To be fair, she didn't really criticize him directly. She was really criticizing Fox News as an organization.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. That comment really.
He said he was getting paid to be a stupid.
Yeah,
like,
she
son of a
basically
bitch.
called him a grifter, and then said like, yeah, but Fox News they present questions that make people stupider. So it's far more an attack on the viewing public who like Fox News than it was an attack on Peter DOOCY in specific.
Of course.
Now let's see what they have to say.
But the media had no problem calling out President Trump when he went after journalists.
It was deeply disturbing and offensive the way he spoke of the media.
I hold that if you look at day one of the Trump campaign, which was June 16, 2015.
I mean, one of the issues here is that generally when Trump attacked the media, he was attacking good journalists with fair questions, whereas Peter DOOCY is a bad journalist with stupid questions. Mm-hmm. So this is the issue, is like, and why I think in these discussions we have to be very specific and clear in what we are attacking, because yeah, if you say like just, oh, no one should ever call a journalist a piece of shit, well then yeah, you've painted yourself into this corner. Mm-hmm. Now, where if you think a certain journalist is a piece of shit, you can't call them that because you said no one should talk like this. But of course, I think the far more intelligent and workable and nuanced way to look at it is like, no, some good journalists you should respect because they're good journalists. Bad journalists should be criticized for their bad journalism.
Well, and also, there's a difference between this one news network is feeding you lies and every news network except for this one news network is feeding you lies. Mm-hmm. There's a big difference.
Big difference. Good point.
So,
huge difference between calling out the most propagandistic news network in town and what right-wingers do, which is just like every piece of news that is not completely right-wing is evil.
Yes. And Blyvig made a good point. There's the distinction of you're stupid with your subhuman or mocking their disability or encouraging pressure violence against them. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, and as I've often said about like my perspective on stupidity is like, I don't think people like stupid right-wingers, I don't think their brains are permanently broken. I don't think they were just like born with a bad brain. Though certainly there could be certain cognitive limitations that contributed to them arriving at that. There are studies that have suggested as much. But really it's like everyone can, I think, maybe not everything, but most people can be smart enough to see that this is stupid. Mm-hmm. If a person is able to watch Fox News and not go like, wow, this is so fucking stupid, like they're just poorly educated, I think is the primary issue, or even worse, miseducated. So like I always like to be clear about that. Like I'm not dismissing it as like, oh, now you can never have like, no, like you could, the day you tell me like, oh wow, I realize being a Republican Party is stupid will be the day I know you've become smart. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And until that day, I have to kind of assume anyone still voting Republican is still stupid because they're voting Republican, and there is no smart reason to vote Republican. Mm-hmm. Doesn't exist. Mm-hmm.
15 until today. The through line, right, the connective tissue there is anti-media.
Donald Trump frequently attacked the news media.
Attorney General, those were characterized as attacks on the press credibility, attacks on the news media, and they were also characterized as threats to democracy. And yet here are crickets.
Right. I think one of the reasons.
Also, they're claiming crickets when there totally could be. I mean, I imagine there probably are at least a few liberal pundits out there who said like, oh, Jen Psaki crossed the line. I'm sure they exist, but they're not going to feature that evidence.
Right. Oh, what bad PR.
Go against their narrative.
Yeah.
So they're just going crickets. All we're hearing is crickets. They've presented no evidence. Like, you'd have to present a lot of evidence to prove that the media, the left or liberal media, has not said anything about this. Like, you'd have to comb through all of liberal media of the last...
I bet we could Google in 2 minutes and find it. I bet if we went on Google and said Jen Psaki talking about Peter DOOCY...
Yeah, there are liberals who object to that kind of stuff. And again, like that's why I think the better practice is to just say, like, no, it's fine to call a journalist a stupid piece of shit when they're a stupid piece of shit. Mm-hmm. And it's not okay to call a journalist a stupid piece of shit when they are a credible, thoughtful journalist with a great record asking a president a totally fair question. Mm-hmm. Saying that, like, no journalist could ever be criticized is not a solution. It's about the distinction between good criticism and bad criticism.
And while it may not be such a huge difference, there's a difference between the president himself mocking a journalist and the press secretary being interviewed about someone.
The press secretary being set up with a very provocative question and giving a sort of
middle of the road,
but also sort of, you know, cheeky
yeah,
answer.
it was cheeky.
Yeah.
Trump won the election is because the American people are sick and tired of the mainstream media and see the...
They're so sick of it, why did we vote Biden in, sir? If all Americans are so sick of it, how did Biden win the popular vote and the Electoral College, sir? Truly. Like, just like, please just say the truth, which is that a faction of Americans, 20% of Americans are right-wing psychos.
Yes.
20% of Americans worship Donald Trump as though he is God. And those are the people who wanted Trump in. Miseducated, dumb fucks.
Or racists.
Racist, yeah. Well, if you're racist, you're miseducated, in my book.
Yeah.
They go right hand in hand. There's no way to become a racist without being miseducated.
This is true.
Double standard, and they know the game that's played. Peter DOOCY is doing exactly what a professional journalist should be doing at the White House.
Peter DOOCY, you're gonna stick up for fucking Peter DOOCY as like this paragon of journalistic integrity? He's a fucking dork dummy who's only said stupid shit in public. Ever. All he's ever said is stupid shit. And you're gonna stick up for him like he's trying to hold up the journalistic institution? Fuck Peter DOOCY. Fuck him through a wall.
Press conferences, which is raising hard questions and challenging people, which you ordinarily don't see with Democrats. But the Democrats have only one response, and the media is, in my mind, largely an extension of the Democratic Party. And their response is snarkiness.
He says, as he is a media pundit being paid a huge paycheck to be on Fox News, that the media is an extension of the Democrat machine.
On the, like, most highly rated news network in the country.
It's these cancel culture fucks, you know, who are like, I'm being canceled because I'm paid millions of dollars to say my stupid opinion on TV. Oh, God, I'm so canceled.
So stupid.
It's the exact same shit.
Yeah, that's right. An apologist media.
That's right.
And Jackie, so the bottom line is, for Peter DOOCY, for doing his job, he was met with profanity, right? And this kind of...
Not for doing his job.
Profanity.
Ma'am, it's for being a fucking shitty asshole bullshit journalist.
Also,
he's not being criticized he's being criticized for not doing his job.
On this show... She's
Incredible.
gonna say profanity. The woman sitting to her left is the queen of profanity. She's like, my stinky fart butt doesn't like blah blah, and you're gonna be calling out profanity?
You mean sitting to her...
Oh,
the
one
to her
with the
left.
big glasses.
Yes, to her left, yes.
Yeah, that woman is like, literally thinks it's the funniest thing in the world to be like, poopy farto over here. Like, does it... And you're gonna say profanity? Like, that's just so... It's such a double standard.
It's why I can never get behind, like, you know, language policing of that kind. And, like, I mean, everyone thinks in profanity. Like, you can pretend, you can be a politician, you can be a fucking PR person and, like, and clean up your language to present this, like, image to people. But the fact is, in our mind, when we see someone being a stupid piece of shit, in our mind we think, wow, what a stupid piece of shit. Like most people. Maybe there are some exceptions. I'm sure there are some. But, like, generally speaking, if someone's not cursing, it's because they're making a conscious choice to censor themselves.
Yeah,
And
generally.
I don't think that's good.
Yeah, especially people who are, like, hyper-religious or, like, very, like, Puritan.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they have some of the dirtiest minds.
Yeah,
And you're lying if you say you don't.
Totally.
This mocking of a journalist, and he dared to actually do his job, and now the media is
dared
complicit
to do
in covering
his
that
job.
up.
Right,
Oh my
and let's
God.
first recall that it was the president himself who used the expletive to describe Peter DOOCY, and now it's Jen Psaki who is continuing to make
Wait,
fun
it
of
was
it.
the president?
So I guess Biden did say it?
Because I'm fine if he did. I mean, I just want to double check. So.
Yeah, I don't want to be misinformed.
Biden, Peter DOOCY, piece of shit.
No, he said
The
son of a
lovely-
bitch.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, I remember that. What a stupid son of a bitch.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so stupid son of a bitch. Yeah, because he's a stupid son of a bitch. Or a liar son of a bitch. But, you know, I'm guessing President Biden probably has a lot, and his, you know, social circle have had a lot more direct engagement with Peter DOOCY. And if they're saying he's a fucking stupid son of a bitch, he's probably just a stupid son of a bitch. I'm still trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's just a lying bastard.
You know, I think she does have a case of senioritis, and she should just go already if she's got a media gig lined up. She stood on the podium during one of her conferences and was talking about how she is, you know, completely above board and following all the rules and the ethics. And you see an interview like this and say, oh, really? Did all of that just fly completely?
Oh, and to give a little context, before you were saying the woman to her left, I think it's a different panel this day.
Oh,
so the woman with glasses is not there.
Glasses.
Or at least it's not in that seat. But that's what you meant. You meant the woman.
Yeah, the woman with the big glasses from the last segment.
That was also outnumbered.
Out of the window. If you're going to go do one thing, go do it. Don't stand there, use double standards, pretend to be representing the administration and the people of this country and answering questions honestly and fairly, and then target one member of the media or the network, however you want to look at it.
That's right. So, Julie, she brought up the president. And remember, on day one of his presidency, he said, if I hear you treat another colleague with disrespect or talk down to someone, I promise you, I will fire you on the spot. No ifs, ands, or buts, because everybody, he said, is entitled to be treated with decency.
Peter DOOCY isn't your colleague,
but I guess that does not.
No, but in journalism, yes, and that's my point. Like, Biden painted himself into a corner with that comment.
Yeah.
When what I think you should say is if like, you know, my press secretary responds to a legitimate question with insults, obviously I'd fire them for that. But like my press secretary at another event responding to a question and saying like, yeah, I guess, you know, they can kind of seem like a stupid son of a bitch when they're, you know, miseducated in that way. Like, yeah, you should be specific. And if you just say like everyone has to talk nice always, well, now you've really fucked yourself. Because niceness is not going to. I mean, niceness is a recipe for fascist collapse.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's two sides of the same coin here, though, because Fox News is notoriously like, well, we love people who just say what they're thinking.
Right.
And then at the same time, when people say what they're thinking, they're like, I cannot believe that they said what they thought.
Yes.
And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have the liberals who are like, no, don't ever say what you're thinking.
Oh, yeah. If this situation were completely politically flipped and it was a right-wing president and a right-wing press secretary, they would be making endless excuses.
Of course.
About like how like, well, you got to admit, Steve DOOCY is kind of stupid. Yeah. That's what they'd be saying right now. But instead, they're going to stick up for their fucking sports team because they have no values except, as we say all the time, the divine right of kings is the only value conservatives have. Self-serving, being part of the in-group. That's all they care about. And making sure there's an out-group so they can feel superior and have slaves to serve them.
Apply to journalists.
Yes. No, I mean, it's obviously a double-faced comment. So he made these comments during the swearing-in ceremony back in January of 2021 in front of hundreds of people and, quite frankly, millions across the nation watching him get sworn in. It was a nice, I guess, about-face because I guess he was trying to prove that he wasn't like President Trump, who did sometimes use some strong language, although he also called Peter DOOCY on the campaign trail an SOB, and I promise that I will fire you on the spot. He wants them to treat each other with dignity. The press is actually...
Well, that was a lot of... She referenced several things.
That was mental gymnastics.
Was she saying that Trump said Peter DOOCY was a son of a bitch?
That's what I thought
That's what it seemed like she was saying.
Can
I think she
play
means...
that again?
Yeah, sure. Let's see if we can make sense of her diarrhea
nonsense.
Mouth. Yeah.
He made these comments during the swearing-in ceremony back in January of 2021 in front of hundreds of people and, quite frankly, millions across the nation watching him get sworn in. It was a nice, I guess, about-face because I guess he was trying to prove that he wasn't like President Trump, who did sometimes use some strong language, although he also
sometimes use
strong language versus I can't believe he's resorting to profanity.
Yeah.
What is the why are you nitpicking your language so differently?
Because she's got Trump's dick glued into her mouth for all eternity.
Yeah, that's true.
Like all of these fuckers. She's got her fucking lips sewn to Trump's ass.
If Joe Biden says that guy's a stupid son of a bitch, that's unnecessary profanity.
That's, oh my God, how could this line be crossed? America is crumbling.
But when Trump does it, it's, well, he sometimes says a bad word or two,
language,
I guess.
But on the other hand,
I don't know. It was warranted.
Yeah.
Also called Peter DOOCY on the campaign trail an SOB, and I promise that I will fire you on the spot. He wants them to treat each other with dignity. The press is actually part of the White House, but I guess the rule doesn't apply as long as you work at Fox News Channel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yep, you got it.
No, yeah, correct.
You got it. If you're working at Fox News, you're not a journalist. You're a professional liar.
Yeah.
Fox News fought in court for the right to lie.
Yep.
These are facts. You can look them up. Fox News is not a journalistic institution. They're not. They are fucking propagandists and liars. And yes, none of you should be respected for anything ever. You should be insulted every day of your lives mercilessly until you change your fucking behavior. That is the right thing to happen. Please, everyone watching, insult these people every chance you get, to their face if possible, until they fucking stop the shit they do to ruin the world.
Under this administration.
Kennedy, take us home.
Fox News Channel, obviously a direct competitor with MSNBC. Again, an ethical breach on her part. But she said something that was very telling. So she thinks that other people write questions for journalists. So if that's what she thinks that other people are going to prepare for her and write her material, which means she is going to fail utterly at MSNBC if she's not going to do her own work, which is what Peter Doocy does. It's what Jackie Heinrich does. It is what everyone does who works in their capacity. They write their own questions. They write their own...
That's not true at all. That's a fucking lie. TV news hosts have material written for them all the time. Very common thing. They also say what they think. They also improvise questions. But to act like everyone at Fox News has never had material written for them by a staffer, but over at MSNBC there's like one or like a team of dastardly shadow Illuminati staffers writing everyone's material. It's just conspiratorial fucking nonsense.
It's unreal.
And again, this is why I say insult these people, use profanity. Don't ever try to say, like, no profanity should ever happen in politics. Everyone be diplomatic. It's a stupid hill to die on, and you set yourself up for rhetorical failure.
From follow-ups, and these are some of the few remaining honest agents in Washington who are calling truth to power. So good for them. I'm glad they make her nervous, and if she thinks someone else is going to do her work for her, good luck, sister.
What part of that indicated that she was nervous?
Good luck, sister. Someone else is going to write. There are staff at MSNBC and Fox News.
What?
The fucking smug look on her face.
I'm so confused.
I'm going to slap the metallic lipstick off her.
Jen Psaki said, in a very backhanded way, the guy's a stupid son of a bitch. And she's like, I'm so glad he scares the shit out of her. That's not... You're just saying things to say them. Yeah. Like, that clearly does not indicate to me that she's scared of him.
I mean, to be fair, I am scared of morons.
Yeah, but it's different. You're not actually scared of morons.
I know, I'm just saying, but I'm
You're scared of what they do to the world.
Right, which is
but
like...
if you were with a moron, you wouldn't be like, like, you know.
No, right. But I mean, but I think that's a kind of like, it's a wiggly distinction there, because you're saying, like, you know, you're not scared of morons, you're scared of what they do, which is like, you could say the same thing about, like, you know, you're not scared of spiders, you're scared of poisonous bites. But it's like, you're scared of spiders.
Okay, got
You know what I'm saying? Like, I am scared of morons. I'm not scared of them, like, beating me intellectually. I'm not scared of them making a great point that shakes the foundations of my beliefs. I'm scared of them existing and voting for bastards and giving them more power.
Yeah. Look at that face.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that smug face.
They're good at that at Fox News. And that's it. One more second. Yeah.
Stupid asshole.
All right. Good shit. More lies. I mean, and I wonder, like, maybe someday, because part of this too, the propaganda busting, and, you know, inviting conservatives in to speak and, like, come on Discord, is like, I would love to find a Fox News segment that was, like, actually good journalism. Wouldn't that be crazy?
You won't, Casey.
I know it. I know I never will, apparently. But I guess I'm just an optimist at heart, because I'm like, maybe we'll one day encounter something from a right-wing outlet that is not a complete fucking lie.
The only time that happens is when it's a middle of the road, like, you know, a dog was rescued from the hospital today. You know what I mean? That's when it's not a fucking lie.
A dog was rescued from the hospital.